Hello everyone, today we're going to explore a situation we've all faced, waiting in a long line at the supermarket. While it may seem like a minor annoyance, we are going to look at the act of cutting in line through the lens of one of history's most influential philosophers, Immanuel Kant. We'll see why, for Kant, this isn't just a matter of being rude, it's actually a violation of the fundamental rules of reason. Before we dive into the supermarket, we need to understand Kant's framework called deontology. The word comes from the Greek word for duty. Unlike other theories that look at the result or consequences of an action, like whether cutting in line makes you happy because you get home faster, the ontology focuses on rules to distinguish right from wrong. Kant argued that morality isn't about personal desires or what makes us feel good. Instead, it is based on reason and our duty to follow universal moral laws. In this view, some actions are simply right or wrong in themselves, regardless of the outcome. To figure out if an action is moral, Kant says we must first identify its maxim. A maxim is just a technical term for the personal rule or principle behind what you are doing. A complete maxim includes three parts: what you are doing, the situation you are in, and your goal. For our scenario, the maxim will be: I will cut in front of others while waiting in a supermarket line in order to save myself time. Now that we have a rule, we can test it against Kant's three versions of the categorical imperative, the ultimate moral command. The first formulation, the universal law, is it's a Kant's rule that say act only in accordance with that maxim through which you can at the same time will that it become a universal law. Let's put it in different words. Think of this like a universalization test. You have to ask yourself, would it be possible for everyone to follow this rule at the same time? If you try to make yourself an exception to a rule that you expect everyone else to follow, you are acting immorally. So, what happens if we universalize our line cutting maxim? If everyone cut in line whenever they wanted to save time, the very concept of a line will collapse. There will be no order, only a chaotic crowd. We were losing the meaning of the action itself. Kant called this a contradiction in conception. The action of cutting a line becomes impossible to even imagine if the line itself no longer exists, because everyone is cutting, therefore, line cutting is irrational, and by definition, immoral. The second test is the humanity formulation. Kant says we must treat people always as an end and never merely as a means. To treat someone as a mere means is to use them like a tool or an object to get what you want, without regarding their own goals. To treat them as an end means respecting their dignity as rational beings who have their own purposes and the right to make their own choices. When you cut in front of someone, you're treating the people behind you as mere means, essentially as obstacles to your goal of getting out of the store faster. You're forcing them to support your goal at expenses of their own goal without their consent. By depriving them of the choice to agree to your action, You are failing to respect their human dignity and treating them like objects rather than people. The third formulation is the kingdom of ants. Kant asks us to imagine an ideal community where everyone follows the same universal moral laws and everyone treats each other with total respect. In this kingdom, every person is a lawmaker. You should only act on rules that you will be willing to turn into a law for this entire perfect society. This relies on autonomy, the idea that we are free, rational beings who create the moral rules we live by. By introducing the line coding in the kingdom of ants, we will think that the rational person wouldn't vote for a law that allows line cutting, right? Of course not. Such a law will undermine the fairness and autonomy of everyone else in the community. By cutting, you're acting as if your time is more valuable than everyone else, breaking the social contract that allows a rational society to function. Because a community of rational beings will never collectively agree to a rule that allows for such disrespect. The action is rejected. To sum up, Kant shows us that cutting a lie isn't just a minor social slip up, it's a failure of a reason. It fails the universal law test because it will destroy the system it relies on. It fails the humanity test because it uses peoples as tools for your convenience, and it fails the kingdom of ends because it's not a rule a fair society will ever accept. For Kant, morality is about following the rules of reason and respecting the dignity of others, even when it's inconvenient for us. So the next time you're in line, remember you aren't just waiting to pay. You're participating in a moral community. Thank you.